Chapter 9. Blackout.
Blackout. Monte Carlo, Monaco. Too much money wasted on too many drinks at L'Hirondelle. But the sunset sure was stunning. With every pair of gin and tonics, and there were many pairs, the precise Michelangelo with coral reef clouds and rose-colored sky blurred more and more into an impressionistic Monet. Once we were good and drunk, stars began to leak onto the violet canvas. Solène and I stacked our empty glasses, erecting our own Tower of Babel out of liquor, glass, and ice. I can only imagine what the waiter was thinking as he brought us the check. "L'addition, mes amis," he said in a babysitter tone.
Merci, mon amigo.
I merrily fired back. He shook his head with a chuckle and left the table, taking our tower like an art project to hang on the fridge. Being an adult with money is like being a kid all over again, except nobody sends you to your room when you're bad.
Marco, ya idiot,
Solène sputtered.
We're not in Spain. We're not.
I looked at her clumsily and waited until the three Solènes turned back into one and then said,
Yeah.
Shutting my eyes and twisting my lips up, I looked like a toddler during nap time or a manor care resident during morphine time. Funny how people start out and end up the same way. Solène violently seized the check and then smiled back, fumbling it between her fingers before slamming it on the table in front of me. Surprisingly enough, the glass refused to shatter.
600 for you, Mr. Rich Man,
she slurred. I waggled my eyebrows the way I pictured Bond would have, though it probably just looked like I was in the early stages of having a stroke.
Please, that's nothing,
I said, and struggled for a wad of hundreds from my pocket to toss on the table. The glorious rain of bills was certainly more than 600 euros. But what are trivial financial details to a man who had attained godhood? And trust me, anyone can become a god after a half-dozen strong gin and tonics. Our walk back to the hotel wasn't so much a coherent stroll as it was a collection of earnest stumbles. Perusing the lavish streets and alleyways of the Monte Carlo quarter, we took turns plunging to the pavement, sporadically making out on street corners and volleying insults and compliments. She said I was an idiot. I said she was annoying. She said I kinda looked like James Bond with my suit and untucked button down, just like more homeless. I said she kinda looked like Venus, coming straight out of the sea foam, just like not as naked. But most of all, she said multiple times, I was an idiot. When we reached the fountain, I gawked at it and forgot how to walk. Gravity saw the opportunity and pulled me to the floor, giving my knees small but painful scrapes for souvenirs. "Idiot!" Solène chimed, almost doing a pirouette. I launched a finger in her direction and mumbled a playfully intended, "Bitch!" I can say confidently that a drunk fourth-wave feminist sensing injustice is more terrifying than the might of the U.S. military, even with its excessive weaponry, personnel, and track record of war crimes. Marco, what did you just say? Her words boxed me in like bulletproof glass. Well, I was only kidding, I defended, slowly backing myself against the railing. Only kidding? She yelled, proceeding to punt my prone body, not in the painful street fight kind of way, but in the lazy kind of way where you'd kick a can down the road. I'm not exactly sure why, but I started getting hard. Are you fucking kidding me? Stop! Stop it! Stop it! Okay, I take it back. You're not a bitch. She tossed her head dramatically, and her bobbed blonde hair flapped like a goldfinch's wings. I got up, burying my hands in my pockets to, well, cover up. Call me what you want, Marco, but bitch is crossing the line. I really hate that word, you know, she said in drunken clarity. Yeah, I can tell, I said. She loomed over me with seething exhalations, and I sheepishly diverted my eyes. We walked in tense silence back to the hotel. Once we'd gotten back, right as we were about to step inside, she suddenly took my hand. I winced, bracing for another round of domestic abuse. You know, you're kind of cute all scared on the ground, she said sweetly. I relaxed, allowing my drunk bravado to return. Ah, I see. So, you're into that kind of stuff, huh? I asked, bobbing my head. No, not really. She shot a glance below my belt. But, from the look of it, you are. I cringed, glued to the spot as she sashayed into the hotel with a smirk. I've always said drinking makes you kill yourself. Probably the most chilling way it can happen is the infamous blackout, a nightly goal for college kids and washed-up divorcees around the globe. Blacking out doesn't always throw the entire night into oblivion, though. Usually, the important parts of the night get burned into your memory, for better or for worse. The events you can recall feel foreign, as if someone else had wrestled control of your body and left you watching helplessly. Still, you own it all. Whether you piss on someone or lose your life savings, everything the blacked-out menace in control of your body did becomes your responsibility the next morning. 3 things happened that night that I can remember, each of them corresponding roughly to a time I saw on the digital clock on the nightstand. 9:45. Selene ripped off her red dress and threw me to the bed. Clothes off, now! I obeyed as she stripped out of her black lingerie and flung it across the room. Sure thing, I shot back. She straddled me and stared in my eyes. You talk too much, idiot. This one doesn't move the plot along or anything. I just wanted to mention that I did have sex. 11. I suggested we watch the rest of Titanic. Ooh, good idea, Marco. At this point, clothes had somehow made their way onto both of us. She flipped on the TV. Shit, it was on last night. We didn't record it, did we? I asked. No, she replied with a frown. Unfortunately, that's the end of that memory. I'm pretty sure we never got to see the rest of Titanic. 12:20. The red lines forming the numbers on the digital clock face had less of a glow about them. Guess I'm sobering up. The TV screen was black and Selene was in the middle of a diatribe, sitting with her legs crossed at the foot of the bed. And that's exactly why it matters, you know? It's not just him, it's the whole question of femicide. Nobody gives it the attention it needs. No, deserves. I mean, women are being slaughtered all the time and nobody gives a shit. How are we supposed to get equal treatment in the fucking workplace if we can't get basic goddamn respect? She finished. I gave her a hollow nod of agreement. What the fuck is she talking about? Uh-huh, I replied. Coming out of her fit of passion, she began to realize that I hadn't been a great audience. Well, Marco, what do you think? She said, rubbing her forehead. My mouth fell open and I tilted my head in confusion. Really? Nothing? She said sharply. I'm sorry, Selene, but I have no clue what you're going on about, I shrugged. I'm still drunk, so... She leveled her arms against the mattress. So, you're telling me that you weren't listening? She asked. Her eyebrows inclined in disbelief, and I propped myself up against the headboard. Well, that's not entirely it, I responded, trying to calm her with a smile. I'm sure I listened. I just don't remember a single word of what you said. I finished with a laugh for good measure. It backfired. I'm starting to think the only thing you care about is yourself, she cried. I get it, okay? Your life is hard. You have all these problems, and you have all these enemies. You. Well, guess what? It isn't all about you, Marco. You asked to come with me. Got that? So you should care at least a little about what I'm here to do. Look, Selene, it's not that I don't care, all right? I replied with a long sigh. Really, I think what you're trying to do is great and all. It's just... Well, I mean, look, your life's not at stake here. Aren't you being a little selfish right now? I know your story is important. Trust me. Big, bad Patrick Parity. The bane of all women. Fuck you! What? Is this a fucking joke to you, Marco? God, you're such an asshole! She said bitterly. To tell the truth, you're a really shitty person. You steal, you cheat, you lie, you do whatever the fuck you want, whenever the fuck you want, and you don't give a shit about anyone or anything else. We glared at each other, and I tightly clutched clumps of bedsheet. I do what I have to, Selene. I didn't have the luxury to waltz across the Riviera hopping from one five-star hotel to another, okay? I've gone into every city with a target on my back, hoping that I'm lucky enough to make it to the next one. You talk all the time about oppression. How about you take a good look at my fucking life? Angry streams spouted from my eyes. Selene stood, turning her back to me and squeezing the air in front of her face. No, Marco, I don't understand. I can't comprehend how you just don't care. And you don't. Not about the people you steal from, not about me, not about a single fucking soul on this planet other than yourself. My eyes rolled into my head and I ran my hands through my bedraggled hair. Selene, I do care. About you, at least, I definitely do. I paused and took a deep breath before she stiffly shook her head. No, Marco, she said in a low voice. You're just as bad as Parity. My heart pumped wrath through my veins as I sent a death stare across the dimly lit hotel room. Oh yeah? I raised my voice. Yeah, Marco, she replied, whipping around and raising her voice above mine. You're a slimy piece of garbage. You have no morals at all, and you ruin everything you touch. I bet that's why your wife left you. I began to lose sight of her figure. Colored in the palette of outrage, what was once a goddess, the very distillation of perfection, became a succubus with razor fangs and bony claws, wrapped inside swirling insidious flames. I roared as my brain submerged in a whirlpool of hatred. I forgot entirely about the fantastic dream of our Mediterranean voyage and the pleasant memories we built across La Côte d'Azur. You don't know the half of it, you bitch! The walls leaked blood, turning vermilion. Selene shrieked. Oh, I'm sure I don't, Marco, because I'm an annoying bitch, right? I fucking hate you. Hell, you might as well be Parity for all I care, asshole. My body was a furnace. My bones melted and my organs roasted, and the bed under me erupted in a horrendous blaze. The room filled with wretched smoke, darkening until I could see only the vile icon of my resentment. I succumbed fully to the loathing inferno. This was hell. Well, that's just great, because guess what? I am Parity. Selene's anger abruptly ceased. Her face went white, and her hands dropped lifelessly. She couldn't breathe. She stood across the room like a block of dry ice, its intense chill abating the fiery storm of my blind rage. Her frozen blue eyes shot a stream of holy water into my pupils, pulling me out of hell and back into the hotel room. All semblance of recognition had faded from her gaze. I was neither the anomalous, enticing man from Marseille or the cruel, misogynistic murderer from the United States. I was unexpected. I was inexplicable. I was a stranger. Selene, can I just explain? She failed to respond. Listen, I couldn't tell you, but I wanted to. I really did. Not even a twitch of her cheek. I didn't kill my wife or my kid. I would never think of killing someone. Nothing. Absolute stillness. I lied, yeah, but what I felt was real. You gotta believe me. If I just have some time, I can sort it all out. All I need is a little time. Leave, she whispered, shivering. Huh? Just get out, she said, pointing a shaky finger at the door. But, Selene. She shut her eyes tight. Little sapphires formed on the corners of her eyelids, and her outstretched arm trembled violently. Mark, she started, choking on the alias. She brutally shook her head, trying to shake away her new reality with it. Just go. Now. I lifted myself off the bed and trudged over to the couch. My body was dead weight, and I was less than dead. As I stuffed my belongings into my string bag, I stared bleakly out the window. Soft lights dotted the expanding horizon. Happy little houses with happy people inside. So near to us, yet impossibly out of reach. The empty air was louder than Tchaikovsky's cannons. Silence with ear-splitting decibels of force. I finally broke the nauseating tranquility. What are you gonna do? I asked, meekly. Get out, she whispered. The silence resumed. I turned from the window. Solène hadn't moved an inch, her arms still suspended in the air. Slowly, I made my way to the door, creaking it open just enough to slip out and then delicately shutting it behind me. I leaned against the white wood and covered my face with my palms. Seconds? Minutes? I wasn't counting. After a while, I pushed away from the door and started down the hallway. And that's about where I lose the memory. The night resumed, so to speak, down in the courtyard. Figures. I checked my watch and read 3:45. The fountain sat dormant in the clutches of night. I stood with the fountain between myself and the casino. From the other side, where I'd spoken to Brutus earlier, all of Monaco, and in a sense all of Europe, unfolded behind the fabulous waterworks. Now I had a different view. The sheathed fountain, situated under the imposing facade of the Monte Carlo. The casino itself never slept. The pit bosses and dealers and suckers and scammers who frequented that cathedral of sin certainly did, and yet the place of worship itself shined with teal and magenta and gold throughout the dreary night. I rested against the railing and stared at the dark, damp grass. Hunched over, I felt the same heaviness as before, amplified by the weight of Solène's loss. As if the weight of the world wasn't heavy enough. I could easily have diffused the fight without revealing my secret. If only I hadn't been drunk. If only I hadn't said it. If only... The truth is, I'd been careless. I'd placed Solène above my rules. All 3 mandates I'd so painfully arrived at on my journey. Solène had slowly rewritten them all. The rules. They're supposed to be God. How could I forget? I'd maintained control for countless days and countless kilometers. My rules had kept me grounded. They'd kept me focused on the end and allowed me to operate objectively. Isn't that why I left Simon behind in Spain? Why she stormed off at Marseille? So what happened? Was it her peerless elegance, her formidable cleverness, her contagious laughter? What was it that had uprooted my very soul? As thoughts of Solène swam through my mind, anxiety began to creep in as well. I turned to sit on the railing and scoured my bag for the passport. I remembered leaving it on the nightstand before we went to the casino. Shit. There's no chance I picked it up. I never abandoned the passport. It was all I had left of Simon, and in a way, all I had left of myself. Just like my rules, though, I'd left it with Solène. Empty-handed, I dropped the bag to the ground. Her story. Fuck! I gripped the railing tight and shut my eyes. I'd never gotten a migraine before, but I think the headache I had right then was fairly close. She knows who I am. She hates my guts, and she's got the damn passport. Uneasiness and desperation fell like raindrops from the dark clouds overhead as I hid my hands in my pockets and stretched my neck back. I am 100% fucked. I moaned like I'd been stabbed in the kidney with a rusty dagger. The frigid railing stung my back and I whined. Eventually, the image of Brutus and the imminent game of 21 returned to the vanguard of my assaulting woes. Shit, the card trick. I have to practice. Thankfully, I'd always had a decent memory. Well, at least when I was sober, I did. 12 cards at a time, number and order, wasn't an issue. Of course, the part that had worried me from the jump was the whole lightning speed card reading. I'd never been a reader. In high school English, I used SparkNotes for every book report. But there I was, with a couple of hours until showtime, a killer hangover and a pissed-off reporter breathing down my neck, and the only way out of it was to read with more speed than a bullet. Gotta get to work, then. I stooped down to pick up my bag, remembering the deck of cards I stowed away inside. Taking out the deck and putting the bag back on my shoulders, I glanced up at the Hotel de Paris with a sigh. Solène won't be crying for long. She had a perfect story. The womanizing Patrick Parity escaped authorities by choosing the road less traveled by, across La Côte d'Azur. Hoping to bribe the Italian embassy for asylum, he stole from innocent store clerks along the way without caring. He cautiously guarded his secret using the alias Juan Marco Dados. Still, as crafty as he may have been, it was his misogyny that would create his downfall. As it happens, I met Parity. He attempted to harpoon my heart with sweet nothings and flagrant romance. He was artful, a true master of deceit. I'll admit, at first, he even had me fooled. Eventually, though, he faltered. Too much alcohol and his secrets were divulged in our hotel room. Any hope for that wicked man was lost. A portrait of a famous sexist murderer seducing his enemies, the perfect antagonizing force to galvanize a movement. She'd be stupid not to pull the trigger on it. Looks like it's the embassy by today or never at all. I started shuffling the cards under the faint gleam of streetlights, thinking about how exactly I should train my eyes to pull off the scam. I decided to use the deck in my hands to practice memorizing random cards at a glance. I'd go until memorizing 1 was easy, then 2, then 3, and all the way up to 12. Once I could do 12, I'd keep going until memorizing the cards required less thought than inhaling and exhaling. I glanced at my watch. 3:59. That gives me 10 hours. I shut my eyes and fired a determined puff of air through my nostrils. Suddenly, the fountain behind me animated. Golden streams exploded out of the still pool like lava erupting from a dormant volcano. In the mirror, I saw a gilded man, shimmering in the artificial light. The fountain conquered the dying night and ushered in the splendor of a new day an hour before the sun had the chance to. Wednesday morning, the dawn of my 3rd day in Monaco. My life, my dreams, my soul, everything was hanging in the balance.